The doorbell echoed through the quiet suburban street in suburban Chicago. But when the door swung open, it wasn't Sarah's familiar smile greeting me. It was her father, Mr. Harlan, standing there with a look that pierced right through my casual facade. I had come over to help Sarah with our college project, expecting the usual chaos of her younger siblings and the aroma of her mom's baking. But the house felt unnervingly silent, and Mr. Harlan's eyes held a depth that made my pulse quicken in a way I couldn't explain. "Sarah's not here, Alex," he said, his voice steady yet laced with something unspoken. "But I've been waiting to talk to you." I stepped inside, the familiar living room now feeling like foreign territory. Mr. Harlan, David, as he'd insist I call him later, was a man in his mid-40s, broad-shouldered from years of coaching high school football, with salt and pepper hair that framed a face etched by life's quiet battles. Sarah and I had been inseparable since freshman year at Northwestern, bonding over late-night study sessions and shared dreams of escaping our conservative upbringings. She was the sister I never had, the one who knew my secrets without judgment. But her family? They were the epitome of Midwestern normalcy. Church on Sundays, barbecues in the backyard, and a father who embodied the strong, silent type. Or so I thought. As I sat on the worn leather couch, David poured us coffee from the kitchen, his movements deliberate. "Sarah mentioned you're struggling with your family," he said, handing me a mug. I nodded, surprised she'd shared that. My parents, devout Catholics from a small town in Illinois, had discovered my orientation last summer when they found messages on my phone. The fallout was brutal: screaming matches, threats of disowning me, and a forced therapy session with a pastor who preached conversion like it was a cure. I'd confided in Sarah, but not the full extent of the isolation it left me in. David listened as I spilled it all, his gaze never wavering, and for the first time in months, I felt seen, not as a problem to fix, but as a person worth understanding. We talked for hours that afternoon, the conversation flowing from my pain to his own hidden struggles. David revealed he'd been divorced from Sarah's mom for 5 years, a split shrouded in whispers around town. "People assume it was the usual, growing apart," he said, staring into his coffee. But it was more than that. I realized I couldn't keep pretending. His words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Was he saying what I thought? My heart raced as he continued, admitting he'd suppressed his attraction to men for decades, marrying young to fit the mold society demanded. The church, the coaching job, the family expectations, they'd all boxed him in. Now, at 45, he was grappling with the truth, alone in a world that still viewed men like us as outsiders. By the time Sarah texted that she was stuck in traffic from her part-time job, the sun had dipped low, casting golden hues through the windows. David and I had moved from the couch to the porch, sharing stories of lost loves and unspoken regrets. There was a spark, undeniable, in the way our eyes met, a connection born from shared vulnerability. But as Sarah's car pulled into the driveway, panic set in. What was I doing? This was her dad, the man who'd driven us to prom, who grilled burgers at our graduation party. I excused myself quickly, mumbling about homework, but as I drove home, my mind replayed every glance, every word. That evening, a text from an unknown number lit up my phone. "It was good talking today, David." My fingers hovered over the reply, torn between excitement and the looming storm of complications. Over the next weeks, our secret conversations became a lifeline. We'd meet at coffee shops on the outskirts of town, places where no one knew us. David opened up about his youth in the 80s, a time when being gay meant risking everything: jobs, family, safety. He'd buried it deep, channeling energy into sports and marriage, but the divorce had cracked the facade. "Sarah doesn't know," he confessed one rainy afternoon. "How do you tell your daughter her dad's been living a lie?" I shared my own fears, the judgment from friends, the career hurdles in a field like journalism where being out could close doors. Yet, in those stolen moments, I felt alive, drawn to his quiet strength and the way he made me question my own hesitations. But cracks began to show. Sarah noticed my distractions during our hangouts. "You've been weird lately, Alex. Is it a guy?" She'd tease, half joking. I laughed it off, but guilt gnawed at me. David, too, wrestled with the age gap, 20 years between us, and the potential fallout. What if this blows up our lives? He'd ask, his voice laced with doubt. Society's whispers echoed in my mind. The stereotypes of older men preying on the young, the taboo of crossing family lines. Still, the pull was magnetic, our talks evolving into something deeper, a tentative exploration of what could be. One evening, after a particularly intense discussion about coming out in conservative circles, David reached across the table and took my hand. The touch was electric, simple yet profound. No kisses, no advances, just a moment of raw connection. But as we parted, a neighbor from his street spotted us, raising an eyebrow. The seed of conflict was planted, and I knew the drama was just beginning. The following days blurred into a whirlwind of hidden texts and clandestine meetings, each one intensifying the bond between David and me while amplifying the risks. I'd sneak away from campus, claiming study groups, to meet him at a quiet park on the edge of the city, where we'd walk trails lined with autumn leaves, discussing everything from politics to personal dreams. David dreamed of traveling, seeing Europe without the weight of expectations, while I yearned for a life where I didn't have to hide. Our conversations were laced with laughter, but beneath it, tension simmered. "We have to be careful," David would say, glancing over his shoulder. Chicago might be progressive in parts, but our suburb clung to traditional values, where church groups still debated family values bills. Sarah's suspicions grew. During a movie night at her place, she cornered me in the kitchen. "Dad's been acting strange too," smiling at his phone like a teenager. "You know anything?" My stomach twisted as I denied it, the lie tasting bitter. She was my best friend, the one who'd defended me when rumors about my sexuality spread in high school. Betraying her felt like a knife to the gut, but admitting the truth? Unthinkable. That night, as I left, David caught my eye from the hallway, a silent plea in his expression. We both knew this couldn't stay secret forever. The first major conflict erupted at a community event, a fundraiser for the local high school where David coached. I attended with Sarah, mingling among parents and alumni. David was there, charismatic as ever, but when our paths crossed in a quiet corner, the air crackled. "I can't stop thinking about you," he whispered, his hand brushing mine briefly. It was reckless, and moments later, Sarah's uncle, a staunch conservative, approached with a knowing smirk. "Saw you two chatting. Careful, David, people talk." The implication hung heavy, a veiled warning about appearances. Later, David confided his fears. Losing his job, alienating his kids. Sarah's younger brother, still in high school, idolized him. "If this comes out wrong, it could destroy everything I've built." I wrestled with my own demons. Back in my dorm, I scrolled through online forums, reading stories of age gap relationships in the LGBTQ community. Some celebrated for their depth, others condemned as predatory. Was I naive? David had power, experience. I was just starting out. But our connection felt genuine, rooted in mutual respect. Still, societal judgments seeped in, making me question every motive. One night, after a heated debate with a roommate about inappropriate relationships, I confronted David. "Are we fooling ourselves? The world won't accept this." He paused, eyes softening. "Maybe not. But does that mean we shouldn't try?" The drama escalated when Sarah invited me to a family dinner. The table buzzed with normalcy, her mom visiting from out of town, siblings bantering, but undercurrents pulled at me. David and I exchanged glances, loaded with unspoken words. Midway through, Sarah's mom, Elaine, made a pointed comment about the gays ruining traditional families, referencing a recent news story. The room tensed. David stayed silent, but I couldn't. "People deserve love, no matter who it's with," I said, my voice steady. Elaine scoffed. "As long as it's not in my backyard." Sarah defended me, but the exchange left scars. Later, alone with David in the garage, he admitted, "That's why I stayed closeted so long. Fear of that judgment." As weeks turned to months, our relationship deepened amid growing pressures. We'd steal moments, a drive to the lake, hands intertwined as we watched the sunset. David shared letters from his youth, hidden crushes on teammates, the pain of denial. I opened up about my first heartbreak, a closeted boyfriend in high school who ghosted me. These vulnerabilities bound us, but external forces loomed. Rumors started circulating at school, whispers about David's midlife crisis, fueled by that neighbor's sighting. One colleague even pulled him aside, warning about inappropriate friendships. The turning point came during Thanksgiving break. Sarah planned a trip home, insisting I join since my family had iced me out. The house was festive, but tension crackled. On the eve of the holiday, while everyone slept, David and I met in the backyard, under a blanket of stars. "I think I'm falling for you," he said, his voice raw. The admission hung between us, beautiful yet terrifying. But as we leaned in, sharing a tentative embrace, not passionate, but tender, the back door creaked. Sarah stood there, eyes wide, piecing it together. "What the hell is going on?" she demanded, her voice a mix of shock and betrayal. The confrontation exploded. Sarah accused us of deceit, tears streaming as she grappled with the revelation. "My dad? Alex, how could you?" David tried to explain, revealing his long-suppressed truth, but it only fueled her anger. "You've been lying to all of us." The night ended in chaos, with Sarah storming out, leaving David and me in the ruins of our secret. In the aftermath of Sarah's discovery, the world we knew shattered into fragments of hurt and accusation. She didn't speak to me for days, her texts going unanswered, her presence absent from our shared classes. David fared no better. Family dinners turned into battlegrounds, with Sarah demanding explanations. "How long has this been going on? And with my best friend?" she'd shout, her pain echoing the betrayal she felt. David, ever the stoic father, absorbed the blows, but I saw the cracks. Nights he spent alone, questioning if pursuing happiness was worth the cost to his children. I retreated to my dorm, isolation wrapping around me like a fog. Friends noticed my withdrawal, but I couldn't confide without risking more exposure. Online, I sought solace in LGBTQ support groups, reading tales of similar entanglements. Friendships fractured by unexpected romances, families torn by revelations. One post stood out. A man in his 50s who came out late, losing custody battles but gaining authenticity. It mirrored David's journey, yet amplified my guilt. Was our love selfish? Society's lens painted it as controversial. The age difference fodder for debate. The familial tie a scandal waiting to erupt. Attempts at reconciliation were fraught. I met Sarah at a neutral cafe downtown, the air thick with unspoken words. "I never meant to hurt you," I began, but she cut me off. "It's not just the lying, it's everything. Dad's gay? And with you? It feels like a bad movie." Tears welled as she admitted her own confusion. Supportive of my orientation in theory, but this hit too close. "What about the family? Mom's already fragile after the divorce." We talked for hours, her anger giving way to questions about David's past. By the end, a fragile truce emerged. She wouldn't out us, but trust was broken. David faced his own reckonings. At work, rumors escalated when a parent complained about his lifestyle choices, citing vague sightings. The school board, in a conservative district, launched a subtle investigation, questioning his fitness as a coach. "They're looking for excuses," he told me over a hushed phone call. "Being gay in education, it's still a minefield." We met less frequently, the fear of exposure heightening every encounter. Yet, in those rare moments our bond strengthened, forged in adversity. David shared plans to come out fully, inspired by our connection. "You've given me courage, Alex." Social conflicts mounted. During a campus pride event, I spoke about intersectional challenges, age, class, family, in queer relationships, drawing from our story without names. The audience debated fiercely. Some championed love's boundaries, others warned of power imbalances. It mirrored my internal turmoil. Later, a heated argument with Sarah's brother added fuel. He idolized David as the perfect dad, and whispers of the truth left him reeling. If this is real, why hide it? He challenged, forcing David to confront his hypocrisy. As winter blanketed Chicago, high drama unfolded at a holiday party hosted by mutual friends. Sarah, David, and I converged unexpectedly, the room buzzing with cheer masking underlying tensions. Whispers circulated. Someone had seen David and me together, and Elaine, Sarah's mom, confronted us in a side room. "This is disgusting," she spat, her conservative roots showing. "You're corrupting my family." David stood firm for the first time. "No, Elaine. I'm finally being honest." The exchange escalated, drawing attention, and Sarah intervened, defending her father in a surprising turn. "Mom, love isn't something you control." The fallout rippled outward. Elaine threatened to stir community backlash, contacting church leaders who preached against unnatural unions. David lost allies at work, his coaching position hanging by a thread. I faced scrutiny from peers, some labeling our relationship as problematic due to the age gap. Online forums dissected similar stories, debating ethics. Is love valid if it disrupts lives? We navigated these storms together, our choices under microscope. David choosing authenticity over stability, me prioritizing heart over caution. A pivotal moment came during a quiet New Year's Eve. Holed up in a motel outside town, David and I reflected on the chaos. "We've caused pain, but is hiding better?" he asked. I nodded, realizing our story challenged norms, sparking necessary conversations. Sarah, slowly thawing, texted well wishes, a sign of mending. But as fireworks lit the sky, uncertainty loomed. Would society bend or break us? The conflicts peaked when David's job was threatened outright. A board meeting loomed, parents petitioning against him based on moral concerns. We prepared together, gathering support from LGBTQ advocates. The hearing became a battleground for broader issues. Discrimination in schools, the right to personal life. David spoke eloquently, owning his truth without apology. "My orientation doesn't define my ability to coach. My character does." The room divided, some applauding, others jeering. In the end, he retained his position, but the victory was Pyrrhic, relationships strained, reputation tarnished. Through it all, our love evolved, a beacon amid the storm. Yet, questions lingered. Had we chosen wisely? With the board's decision behind us, a fragile peace settled, but the ripples of our revelations continued to stir deeper waters. David and I navigated a new normal, our relationship no longer a complete secret but still shielded from full public scrutiny. Sarah, in a gesture of reconciliation, invited us to a low-key dinner, just the three of us. The atmosphere was tentative, like walking on eggshells, but as we shared stories from before the chaos, laughter crept in. "I always knew Dad was hiding something," Sarah admitted, "but I never imagined this." Her acceptance was gradual, born from love for her father and our friendship, yet she voiced concerns about the future. What if people turn against you both? Society's pushback intensified in subtle ways. At my internship with a local newspaper, colleagues whispered about that coach's scandal, linking it to me through Sarah. One editor pulled me aside. "Be careful associating with controversial figures. It could hurt your career." The words stung, highlighting the professional risks for openly queer individuals, especially in relationships that defied norms. David faced similar at school. Some parents pulled kids from his team, citing discomfort. We attended a support group for LGBTQ families, hearing stories that mirrored ours, betrayals, judgments, but also triumphs. It bolstered us, reminding that our choices, though contentious, paved paths for others. Personal growth amid turmoil became our anchor. David pursued therapy, unpacking decades of suppression, while I joined campus advocacy, channeling pain into action. Our dates shifted to intentional moments, cooking meals together, discussing books on queer history. One evening, over homemade pasta, David reflected, "This age difference. People see it as a power play, but it's balance. You bring hope. I bring wisdom." I agreed, yet doubts surfaced during arguments. A fight over visibility, Me pushing for openness, him cautious, exposed fractures. "You're young, Alex. You don't get the stakes," he'd say. It sparked debates on generational gaps in the community, fueling our emotional depth. The drama crested during a family reunion in spring. Elaine organized it, ostensibly for unity, but tensions boiled. Relatives, informed through gossip, arrived with agendas. An uncle cornered David. "This lifestyle choice, it's tearing the family apart." The word choice ignited fury. I defended him. "Love isn't a choice. Hiding is." The room erupted, sides forming, progressives versus traditionalists. Sarah mediated, her voice steady. "Dad deserves happiness." Elaine, tearful, admitted her own biases, rooted in upbringing. The night ended in uneasy truces, but it exposed raw societal divides. Acceptance versus tradition, individual rights versus family harmony. As summer approached, external pressures mounted with a viral social media post. A former student shared a skewed account of David's inappropriate relationship, twisting facts into scandal. Hashtags like "Protect Our Kids" trended locally, drawing media attention. We lawyered up, countering with truth, but the ordeal tested our resolve. Protests outside the school demanded his resignation, chanting slurs that echoed historical bigotry. Allies rallied, LGBTQ organizations, progressive parents, turning it into a flashpoint for rights. David addressed the crowd. "I'm not a threat. I'm human." The speech went viral positively, shifting narratives, but exhaustion set in. In quieter moments, our bond shone. A weekend getaway to a cabin in Wisconsin offered respite. Under starlit skies, we shared fears and dreams. "Do you regret us?" I asked. David shook his head. "Never. You've awakened me." The tenderness reinforced our choices, despite costs. Back home, Sarah's full support emerged. She organized a family therapy session, fostering healing. "I was scared of change," she confessed. "But seeing you too, it's real." Yet, controversies lingered. A debate club at Northwestern invited me to speak on taboo love in modern society, using our story anonymously. The audience clashed. Some argued age gaps exploit vulnerability. Others defended consensual adult bonds. It mirrored global discussions. Celebrity couplings scrutinized. Laws debated. Our experience became a microcosm, challenging viewers to question biases. As conflicts waned, reflection took hold. David considered retiring early, pursuing advocacy. I graduated, landing a job in journalism, vowing to amplify queer voices. Our relationship, battle-tested, grew resilient. But scars remained. Lost friends, strained ties, prompting introspection. Was the pain worth the authenticity? The climax arrived unexpectedly during Pride Month. A local parade invited David as a speaker, symbolizing late bloomers. As he took the stage, I stood beside Sarah in the crowd, heart swelling. "Love doesn't fit boxes," he declared. "And neither should we." Cheers erupted, but counter-protesters booed, highlighting ongoing battles. In that moment, our journey crystallized, defiant, emotional choices defining us. With the parade's echoes fading, David and I entered a phase of tentative stability, our love a quiet revolution against the odds. Daily life resumed with newfound openness. Walks hand in hand in progressive neighborhoods, dinners with accepting friends. Sarah became our ally, hosting game nights where laughter bridged past hurts. "I'm proud of you both," she'd say, her words mending wounds. Yet, societal undercurrents persisted, stares from strangers, online trolls debating our validity. We ignored them, focusing on the joy. Shared mornings with coffee, evenings debating news. Deeper conflicts arose internally. David grappled with legacy, how his coming out affected his kids' futures. Sarah's brother, now in college, distanced himself, influenced by peers' judgments. "It's hard explaining to friends," he admitted during a visit. The conversation turned heated, exposing generational rifts. Youth demanding visibility, elders valuing discretion. I mediated, drawing from my experiences, but it underscored the ongoing drama. Families evolving unevenly. Professionally, triumphs mixed with trials. My articles on LGBTQ issues gained traction, one profiling late-in-life comings-out inspired by David. It sparked national discussions, with critics labeling such stories disruptive to norms. David, post-retirement, volunteered at youth centers, mentoring queer teens. "Your story saved me," one kid said, validating our path. But backlash followed. A conservative group boycotted the center, claiming indoctrination. We fought back through petitions, turning adversity into advocacy. Emotional peaks defined our bond. On our one-year mark, we revisited the park of our first meeting. "Despite everything, I choose this again," David said, his eyes reflecting hard-won peace. I nodded, acknowledging the costs. Fractured relationships, public scrutiny. Yet growth emerged, David freer, me bolder. Sarah's wedding planning included us equally, a symbol of acceptance. The narrative's high drama culminated in a family crisis. Elaine, facing health issues, reached out for reconciliation. Hospital visits became forums for raw talks. "I was wrong to judge," she whispered, tears flowing. The moment healed old divides, but raised questions. Can forgiveness erase pain? Society's role loomed. Media coverage of similar families fueled debates on redemption. As our story unfolded, it challenged conventions, sparking controversies on age, family, identity. We hosted discussions, sharing without regret, inspiring others. Yet, in quiet reflection, doubts surfaced. Had our choices been fair to those around us? In the end, life settled into a rhythm of love and resilience. David and I built a home together, a sanctuary amid the world's noise. Sarah's family expanded, including us in traditions. The journey, fraught with drama, affirmed that love's path, though contentious, leads to truth. Is it true that pursuing forbidden love always justifies the collateral damage to family and society?